Welcome to High Magick Practices. This episode takes a different form. Rather than moving deeper into a specific text or manuscript tradition, we are turning our attention directly to the community, to the 17 questions submitted by practitioners and newcomers alike, covering everything from foundational definitions to ethics, safety, lineage, and where to begin. These are the questions that arrive at the threshold of the tradition, before a practitioner has found their footing, and they deserve to be answered with the same rigor we bring to any textual study. 17 questions arrived. We will address each in turn. Let us begin. Question 1.
How long does magic even take to work? Like, when should you expect results?
Time in the Western ceremonial tradition is not neutral. The planetary hour system, which underpins the Key of Solomon, the Heptameron, and the broader Solomonic corpus, holds that different hours of the day and night carry different qualities of celestial influence. An operation begun in a jovial hour moves through expansion and grace. The same operation in a Saturnine hour moves through constraint and slow consolidation. The tradition does not say either is wrong. It says they are different, and that the appropriate window must be matched to the appropriate intention. The type of operation also determines the timeline. Work for swift results, covering communication and rapid change of circumstance, belongs to Mercury. Work for long-term structural transformation belongs to Saturn. Expecting Saturnine magic to move at mercurial speed is not a failure of the work. It is a misreading of the operational specification. The tradition also identifies impediments. The operator's preparation, purification, sincerity, and quality of attention during the rite are material variables, not atmospheric details. A rite performed with genuine preparation will not produce the same outcome as one performed hastily with a divided will. Finally, the tradition distinguishes between intermediate signs and final manifestation. A working does not either succeed immediately or fail entirely. In the days following an operation, practitioners were expected to observe shifts in circumstance, in dreams, in the behavior of relevant people, evidence that the work was moving through its causal chain. Final manifestation timescales vary by governor, lunar cycle, and the complexity of what was requested. The honest answer is that the timeline depends on what was asked, of whom, and under what conditions. The tradition does not promise speed. It offers a principled, time-tested framework within which prepared practitioners can work with genuine effect. Question 2.
So, do beginners need an initiation or a teacher, or can you start on your own?
The grimoire tradition does not uniformly require formal initiation by a human teacher. The Solomonic texts present their instructions as directly accessible to the prepared practitioner. The requirements they enumerate are moral and ritual in character rather than organizational. Purification, prayer, correct timing, and the proper construction of the instruments are all specified in detail. Membership in a lineage is not. This does not mean that teaching is without value. It means the tradition has always made room for the solitary practitioner, who approaches the work with genuine seriousness. Where initiation carries operative weight is within specific orders, such as the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and its successor bodies, where the initiation ritual is itself a working ceremony, a structured transmission of symbolic content, and a formal entry into a living current. This is not the same as the informal self-initiation sometimes promoted in contemporary occult spaces, which borrows the word without its operative context. A practitioner working alone is better understood not as self-initiated, but as working within the textual tradition under its own discipline. That is a legitimate and historically grounded mode of practice. Question 3.
When you do ceremonies in High Magick, who are you actually calling on? Angels? Gods? What's the deal?
The answer depends on the specific tradition and the specific operation. The Solomonic corpus addresses angelic intelligences, planetary spirits, and, in texts such as the Ars Goetia, the bound demonic hierarchy catalogued in the Lemegetum. The heptameron works exclusively with the 7 planetary angels and the seasonal angels that govern their invocation windows. The Hermetic and Kabbalistic traditions address the divine names, the names of God as understood within the Hebrew mystical framework, as well as the intelligences associated with each of the 10 Sefirot on the Tree of Life. The operative theology of High Magick is neither polytheistic in the ancient sense, nor identical to mainstream monotheism. It works within a graduated cosmology in which the divine source is understood to be singular, but its governance of the world is mediated through a hierarchy of intelligences, angelic beings, planetary governors, and in certain operations, constrained demonic forces, each carrying defined authority over specific domains. The practitioner positions themselves within this hierarchy through prayer, purification, and the invocation of divine names, and makes petition or command according to the nature of the being addressed and the type of operation being performed. Question 4.
In High Magick, are you supposed to focus on spiritual goals, or can you work on material stuff too?
The classical tradition makes no rigid prohibition against material operations. The Solomonic texts catalog operations for prosperity, legal favor, friendship, the recovery of stolen goods, and a wide range of material outcomes alongside operations for knowledge, vision, and spiritual advancement. The Key of Solomon, the Heptameron, and the Picatrix all address material concerns directly and without apology. The tradition treats material and spiritual operations not as opposites, but as different expressions of the same operative framework, differentiated primarily by the planetary governor appropriate to each. The distinction that does carry genuine weight within the tradition is not between material and spiritual aims, but between operations conducted with proper preparation, correct timing, and sincere intention on one hand, and operations conducted with improper preparation or in violation of the ethical constraints the tradition articulates on the other. The Renaissance magician was not expected to abandon material concerns in favor of pure contemplation. They were expected to bring the same rigor, the same respect for the governing intelligences, and the same quality of preparation to every operation, regardless of its aim. Question 5.
Okay, do I really need all those magic tools, altar, dagger, incense, whatever, or can beginners start without them?
The instruments specified in the Solomonic texts, including the wand, the sword or dagger, the lamen, the incense, the robe, and the constructed pentacles, are not arbitrary decorative elements. Each carries a specific operative function within the logic of the rite. The incense is not ambiance. It creates a medium through which the summoned presence can manifest and through which the practitioner's petition ascends. The lamen identifies the operator and their authority within the hierarchy being addressed. The pentacles carry the divine names and seals that bind or attract the relevant forces. Removing these elements does not simplify the rite. It changes what the rite actually is. That said, the tradition does permit a graduated approach. A practitioner beginning their study need not construct the full Solomonic instrument set before undertaking any work. The lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, the standard entry point in the Golden Dawn tradition, requires no physical instruments at all. It is performed entirely through directed attention, spoken divine names, and specific ritual gesture. The instruments become relevant and necessary as the practitioner moves into more complex operative work. Beginning with foundational practice, building a disciplined daily structure, and acquiring instruments in correspondence with advancing work is the sensible and historically grounded approach. Question 6.
How does magic even work? Like, what's actually going on behind the scenes?
The Western ceremonial tradition does not offer a single unified theory of mechanism, but it does offer a coherent operative philosophy. The most foundational principle is that the cosmos is a structured hierarchy of correspondences, a web of sympathetic relationships between celestial forces, terrestrial substances, angelic intelligences, divine names, and human intention. Magic works by engaging that web deliberately, aligning timing, material instruments, spoken names, and focused intention with the specific current of influence the practitioner wishes to amplify or redirect. Within the Neoplatonic framework that informs much of the Renaissance magical tradition, the practitioner's soul is understood to be capable of ascending through the celestial spheres and making contact with the governing intelligences at each level. The divine names are not merely labels. They are operative keys, forms of address that, when spoken with correct preparation and genuine intention, constitute a legitimate act of petition within the hierarchy. The Kabbalistic model adds a further layer. The 10 Sefirot represent the emanative structure of divinity itself, and operative Kabbalah works by aligning the practitioner's intention with the appropriate point in that structure. What is common across all of these frameworks is the insistence that magic is not the operator's individual willpower imposing itself on reality. It is the practitioner correctly positioning themselves within a pre-existing order and making legitimate use of the relationships that order defines. Question 7.
So, what exactly is high magic? Is that different from low magic? How does that work?
The distinction between high and low magic is classical in origin and has been used with varying precision across the tradition. In its most rigorous sense, high magic, or theurgy, from the Greek meaning divine working, refers to operations whose primary aim is the elevation of the practitioner's soul, contact with divine or angelic intelligences, and alignment with the sacred order of the cosmos. Low magic, or thaumaturgy, meaning wonder-working, refers to operative magic directed toward practical, material outcomes, healing, protection, the resolution of worldly concerns. Both are attested throughout the grimoire record. The distinction is one of aim and emphasis rather than technique. In contemporary usage, high magic as a designation refers specifically to the Western ceremonial tradition, the system of ritual practice descending from Neoplatonic philosophy, medieval scholastic magic, Jewish Kabbalah, and Renaissance synthesis, developed through the grimoire literature and formalized in the 19th century by orders such as the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. It is distinguished from folk magic, popular witchcraft, and chaos magic, primarily by its systematic, scholarly, hierarchical character, its reliance on a defined cosmological framework, and its insistence that the practitioner's personal development and the integrity of the ritual are inseparable concerns. Question 8.
How does someone actually begin practicing high magic? What are the first real steps to take, and how do you know you're doing them correctly?
The first step in every serious account of entry into this tradition is study, not the accumulation of objects, not the performance of dramatic ceremonies, but the patient acquisition of the conceptual framework that makes every subsequent practice intelligible. This means familiarizing oneself with the Kabbalistic tree of life and its 10 Sefirot, with the structure of the 4 worlds, with the planetary correspondences, and with the system of divine names. It means reading primary texts, not merely summaries of them. The first operative practice most practitioners in the Western ceremonial tradition undertake is the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. This rite serves multiple functions simultaneously. It establishes the practitioner's relationship to the 4 divine names, Yod, He, Vav, He, Adonai, Eheye, and Agilah. It builds the visualization and directed attention that more complex ceremonies require, and it creates a regular, structured practice that disciplines the operator's relationship to sacred space and time. Daily practice of this rite, maintained consistently over months rather than weeks, produces observable results in the quality of the practitioner's attention, in the vividness of their visualization, and in their felt relationship to the divine names they invoke. That consistency is the most reliable measure of correct practice, more so than any external validation. Question 9.
What are the biggest misconceptions people have about high magic? Like, is it really anything like the movies?
The cinematic image of ceremonial magic, the menacing figure in a dark room summoning terrifying entities for personal power, reflects neither the operative texts nor the theological framework those texts inhabit. The grimoire tradition presents its operators not as rogue agents seizing power from unwilling supernatural forces, but as learned, morally prepared individuals making formally correct petitions within a defined cosmic hierarchy. The turn of the Solomonic literature is closer to ecclesiastical than to theatrical. The most persistent misconception is that high magic is primarily about the dramatic and the dangerous. In practice, the overwhelming majority of serious ceremonial work is methodical, contemplative, and demanding in ways that have nothing to do with spectacle, like the consistent maintenance of daily practice, the patient study of primary texts, the careful preparation of instruments, the disciplined cultivation of the practitioner's inner life. A second major misconception is that results, when they arrive, resemble film magic, immediate, visible, unambiguous. The tradition does not promise this. Results move through natural causes, through the rearrangement of circumstances, and the gradual clarification of the practitioner's own perception. Discernment, patience, and careful observation are required in equal measure with any ritual skill. Question 10.
So, what's the lineage behind High Magick? Is it from the Golden Dawn or older than that?
The Golden Dawn, founded in London in 1888, is not the origin of the Western ceremonial tradition. It is one of its most important modern syntheses. The tradition's roots extend considerably deeper into the Solomonic grimoire literature of the medieval and Renaissance periods, into the Jewish Kabbalah as it entered Christian and Hermetic thought during the 15th and 16th centuries, into the Neoplatonic philosophy of Plotinus and Iamblichus, into the Hermetic corpus attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, and into the operative magical tradition documented in texts such as the Picatrix, the Heptameron, and the various recensions of the Key of Solomon. The Golden Dawn's achievement was to synthesize these strands, including Kabbalah, Hermeticism, the Enochian system developed by John Dee and Edward Kelly, Rosicrucian symbolism, and the Solomonic operative tradition into a single, graded initiatory system with consistent internal logic. Its influence on the 20th century was enormous. Aleister Crowley, the unfortunate Israel Regardie, and most of the significant figures in 20th century Western esotericism passed through its current or were directly shaped by its structure. But to identify High Magick with the Golden Dawn alone is to mistake the most visible modern tributary for the river itself. Question 11.
So, what are the actual ethical rules in High Magick? Like, is harming someone a big no-go?
The tradition's ethical framework is more nuanced than a simple prohibition. Though operations directed against another person carry significant qualifications throughout the grimoire record, the Solomonic texts do not universally forbid what we might now call harmful magic, including operations of binding, constraint, or the directing of adverse circumstance toward another. What they insist upon is that all operations be conducted under the governance of the divine names and within the moral framework defined by the operator's relationship to the sacred hierarchy. An operation conducted out of private malice, without moral preparation, or in violation of the operative conditions the text specifies, is presented as both spiritually dangerous and practically unreliable. The ethical weight in the tradition falls less on a categorical list of forbidden operations and more on the character and preparation of the operator. The practitioner is expected to have cultivated genuine relationship to the divine, to have undergone the required purifications, and to have examined their intentions honestly before any working. The Golden Dawn current places considerable additional emphasis on the principle that the operator bears full responsibility for the consequences of their work. Operations of binding or harm directed against another are treated in this current as carrying a cost proportional to the justice of the cause served and the integrity with which the work was undertaken. The tradition is not ethically naive, but neither is it reducible to a simple prohibition. Question 12.
Is High Magick safe for your mind? Like, can intense rituals mess with your head and actually cause psychological issues?
This question deserves a careful and honest answer. The Western ceremonial tradition has always recognized that the work involves engagement with material that can be genuinely disorienting to a practitioner who is unprepared or insufficiently grounded. The emphasis on banishing rituals, particularly the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram as a daily practice, is not arbitrary. It exists precisely to maintain the operator's psychological clarity, to establish and reinforce the boundary between ordinary consciousness and the altered states that certain practices can produce, and to ensure that what is encountered in ritual space does not persist unchecked into daily life. Psychological difficulty most commonly arises when a practitioner moves too quickly, skipping foundational work in order to pursue more dramatic operations. When a practitioner is already in an unstable psychological state and uses the practice as an intensifier rather than a stabilizer, or when a practitioner neglects the grounding influence of regular banishing, physical care, and honest self-assessment. The tradition's own prescription, covering consistent foundational practice, study, mentorship where available, and the maintenance of ordinary life alongside the esoteric one, is not merely ceremonial caution. It reflects accumulated practical wisdom about what the work actually demands and what protects the practitioner while they undertake it. Approached with appropriate seriousness, the tradition is navigable. Approached recklessly, it carries real risks. Question 13.
Can you actually mix high magic with your religion? Like, if I'm evangelical Lutheran, is that okay?
The question of compatibility between high magic and Christianity has a long and complex history within the tradition itself. The Renaissance magicians who produced the texts of the core of this tradition were, in most cases, self-identifying Christians. The Key of Solomon invokes the divine names of the Hebrew scriptures, calls upon angels recognized in the Christian tradition, and framed its operations within a theology that presupposes the authority of the biblical God. The Heptameron is explicitly oriented around petitioning the planetary angels within a Christian cosmological framework. The tradition did not originate in opposition to Christianity. It emerged from within a broadly Christian learned culture and drew on Jewish, Neoplatonic, and Hermetic materials that its practitioners understood to be consonant with their faith. The more specific question, whether a particular evangelical Lutheran community would receive this practice with acceptance, is a pastoral and social matter that falls outside our scope to adjudicate. What the tradition itself says is that a practitioner approaching the divine names in the angelic hierarchy with genuine reverence, moral preparation, and sincere intention is working within a framework that the texts themselves present as compatible with scriptural faith. The tension, where it genuinely exists, is between the institutional expectations of specific communities and the operative theology of the tradition, not between high magic and theism as such. Question 14.
If I'm new to this, how do I even start understanding Kabbalah? Do I learn the letters first, the Sefirot, or something else?
For practitioners approaching Kabbalah specifically through the Western ceremonial tradition, the most productive entry point is the Tree of Life as an operative map rather than the Hebrew alphabet as a linguistic system. This means beginning with the 10 Sefirot, their divine names, their planetary and elemental correspondences, and their positional relationships on the tree, particularly the 3 pillars and the lightning flash pattern of the emanations. This structural knowledge provides the framework within which all subsequent Kabbalistic study becomes coherent, and it is directly relevant to the rituals a practitioner will encounter from the earliest stages of their work. The Hebrew letters, the 22 paths that connect the Sefirot, and the deeper dimensions of Kabbalistic textual study, including the Sefer Yetzirah and the Zohar, are more productively approached once the foundational map is secure. This is not because the letters are unimportant. They are of enormous significance. It is because a practitioner who begins with the letters in isolation, without a corresponding structural framework, tends to acquire a collection of symbols without the cosmological architecture that gives those symbols operative meaning. Dion Fortune's The Mystical Kabbalah remains the most reliable first text for this approach, taking precisely the practical, ceremonially oriented entry that the Western tradition requires. Question 15.
Is high magic actually dangerous? Like, are we talking demons and scary stuff?
The honest answer is that the tradition takes the entities it addresses seriously, and a practitioner who does not do likewise is working outside the protective logic the tradition itself provides. The Solomonic texts are explicit that the demonic hierarchy catalogued in texts like the Asgotia is not metaphorical. These are described as real intelligences with real character, real capabilities, and the real capacity to misdirect or overwhelm an unprepared operator. The rituals specify extensive protective measures, including the magic circle, the divine names inscribed at its boundary, the triangle of manifestation, and the pentacles of Solomon, precisely because the tradition understands that working with these entities without proper containment is unsafe. That said, the majority of operative work in high magic does not involve goetic or demonic entities at all. Work with the planetary angels, with the divine names, with the elemental and celestial forces addressed in the heptameron and the Solomonic pentacles is not inherently dangerous in the way that careless goetic work can be. The danger, where it genuinely exists, is concentrated in specific operations requiring specific preparations and containment, and those operations are explicitly marked as such in the texts. A practitioner who builds their practice progressively, maintains regular banishing, and respects the preparatory requirements the tradition specifies is working within a system that has managed these risks for centuries. Question 16.
Is ceremonial magic the same thing as witchcraft, or are they different?
They are related in certain superficial respects, as both involve ritual, both address non-physical forces, and both make use of material instruments. But they are distinct traditions with different origins, different cosmological frameworks, different operative logics, and different practitioner cultures. Witchcraft, in both its historical and contemporary forms, encompasses an enormous range of practices: folk healing, cunning craft, nature-based religious observance, and the modern Wiccan tradition that emerged primarily through Gerald Gardner in the mid-20th century. Its emphasis tends toward cyclical natural time, seasonal observance, and a close relationship with chthonic and elemental forces. Western ceremonial magic, by contrast, is a scholarly, hierarchical, text-dependent tradition rooted in Neoplatonic philosophy, Kabbalistic theology, and the grimoire literature of the medieval and Renaissance periods. Its operative logic is primarily astrological and angelic, rather than seasonal and elemental. Its instruments are consecrated through divine names and scriptural invocations. Its cosmological framework is the emanative structure of the Kabbalistic tree of life. There are points of historical contact between these streams. As some Renaissance magical texts were used by folk practitioners, and some modern witchcraft traditions have incorporated ceremonial elements, but treating them as interchangeable obscures far more than it clarifies. Question 17.
If I'm just starting out with high magic, what books should I actually read first?
The most reliable reading sequence for a new practitioner begins not with the grimoires themselves, but with the conceptual foundation that makes the grimoires intelligible. Dion Fortune's The Mystical Kabbalah provides the most accessible and operatively relevant introduction to Kabbalistic structure. Israel Regardie's The Golden Dawn remains the single most comprehensive document of the system, and it contains the texts of the foundational rituals, including the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, in their complete form. These two texts together supply the framework and the first operative practice. Once that foundation is in place, the primary texts become productive. The Key of Solomon, available in Samuel Liddell MacGregor Mathers's edition and in the more recent scholarly editions produced by Rankin and Skinner, is the natural next step for Solomonic work. The Heptameron follows naturally from it. For broader historical and intellectual context, the academic scholarship of Claire Fanger, Frank Klassen, and Sophie Page offers rigorous grounding in the actual grimoire record and is increasingly accessible to the non-specialist reader. The practitioner who studies Fortune and Regardie and one primary Solomonic text before attempting any operative work will be considerably better prepared than one who attempts the reverse. We had 17 questions addressed in turn. That is the work of this episode. What emerges from these answers, taken together, is a portrait of a tradition that is serious, systematic, historically grounded, demanding of its practitioners, and more nuanced than almost any popular account of it suggests. The questions were genuine, and they deserved genuine answers drawn from within the tradition itself rather than from the outside looking in. An episode of this breadth, covering 17 distinct areas of the tradition addressed with the rigor they require, reflects the kind of sustained, careful research that our Patreon community makes possible. Their support is what allows us to give these questions the serious treatment they deserve, rather than the surface-level answers that circulate elsewhere, and we are genuinely grateful for it. If this episode helped bring you some clarity, please like and subscribe. May the intelligences of the 7 governors attend our practice. May the questions shared by this community illuminate what once seemed uncertain. And may every practitioner who carries these inquiries forward discover within the tradition itself the wisdom that endures.